So we have some huge news for the Filoniverse, some of it coming straight up from Star Wars themselves, some of it from rumors and speculation and reports, but all of it is really universe changing for the entire Filoniverse, not to mention for some shows that we're going to get in only a few months. We have some crazy Ahsoka plot leaks, we have some huge news for the book of Boba Fett, and we also have some stuff to talk about for the Mandalorian Season 3. Let's get into it. So first off, we have a report from Kessel Run Transmissions. Those were the people who reported the Bad Batch even being a thing way before anyone else did, and they report a lot of other stuff too, and they're usually spot on in their reports. And that Rebels sequel that everyone was talking about, that Rebels sequel that everyone thought we were going to get in animation, it looks like it's actually going to be in live action, and that the Ahsoka show is actually going to be the Rebels sequel that we all thought was coming. They're going to adapt the scripts, they're going to adapt the storylines from that show and kind of just turn it into the Ahsoka series, give us the plot line from that Rebels sequel series that was rumored, and that's what we're going to get for the Ahsoka show. I think I like that a lot better than a Rebels sequel season or even a Rebels sequel series altogether, because while I did enjoy Rebels, while I do think there's great moments inside of the series of Rebels, I feel like those great moments are few and far between, especially in comparison to the Clone Wars. And I feel like in a limited series, in a live action series like Ahsoka, where you only have 8 episodes or max 10 episodes, there's going to be a lot more of those cooler moments, and they're going to be much more compact and not as few and far between as it was for the animated series. So really all that report does is get me even more excited for the Ahsoka show, and I'm not really going to miss that Rebels sequel season that was supposed to come out. Next up, another report from Kessel Run Transmission says that Sabine Wren will be a regular in the Ahsoka TV show. So another pretty big plot leak for the Ahsoka show. We all thought that Sasha Banks in The Mandalorian, when she was cast for The Mandalorian Season 2, was going to play the part of Sabine Wren. And then we saw her in the trailer in that hood, and everyone kind of flipped and thought that she was a Jedi. She ended up being a Mandalorian. That was a crazy sequence of events. I think everyone kind of thought that she was going to play Sabine Wren, and it ended up with her being a Mandalorian. It just wasn't Sabine Wren. But it seems like we are going to get someone else playing Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka show, and that Sabine Wren is actually going to be a regular character, a reoccurring character in that show. And according to the report, she is going to play a big part in it. So once again, another plot leak for the Ahsoka show that gets me more excited for the show. And the Ahsoka show is quickly becoming my most anticipated show of the Filoniverse, and really of all of the upcoming Star Wars shows. The only one that really beats it out for me right now is Kenobi. The Mandalorian Season 3 used to beat it out, but now that there's so much drama going on with that show, I'm really not that excited for it, because I feel like if we get excited, if we get our hopes up, we're going to be let down. Not because of the content that's going to be inside of the show, but I just really don't see that show coming out before 2023. So I really don't want to get that excited for a show that we're not going to see for 2 years, maybe a year and a half at least. So I'm kind of tempering my expectations for that show. The Acolyte, I used to be really excited for that show, but now we see what the High Republic is, and we know that the Acolyte is going to tie in with the High Republic, so I'm not getting my hopes up at all for that show. So really right now it's between Ahsoka and Kenobi, and as time goes on, I'm getting less and less excited for Kenobi. If they do end up messing up that show, if they end up ruining the characters of Obi-Wan or even Anakin, I think even I will be done with Disney Star Wars. I don't think I'll consume another piece of Star Wars content for the rest of my life, because I know this makes me sound like a little kid, but Hayden Christensen's Anakin is what got me hooked on Star Wars. Hayden Christensen's Anakin is my Luke Skywalker. If they mess that character up, if they mess up Darth Vader or Anakin, that'll be the last straw for me. I'll be out of here. But let's move on to some other news that we have about the Ahsoka series, some more plot leaks. This article is from LRM Online, and it says an Ahsoka synopsis rumor appeared online yesterday courtesy of Daniel Rickman's Patreon service. Here is the supposed synopsis for the Ahsoka as per the source above. Ahsoka Tano, played by Rosario Dawson, is on the hunt for the evil Grand Admiral Thrawn in the hope it will help her locate the missing Ezra Bridger, the young Jedi that disappeared with Thrawn many years ago. And this is a rumor that everyone has heard before. This is what we kind of all assume that the Ahsoka show is going to be, but as more and more of these scoopers, as more and more of these insiders report the same thing, it kind of just gives us more and more confirmation that this is what the show is going to be about. And Daniel Rickman most of the time is a pretty reliable source. The only problem with this is it came from his Patreon service, and what he does on his Patreon is kind of give everyone the rumors that he's heard but he can't confirm. So he kind of just throws anything on there that he hears through the grapevine, but none of it can really be confirmed. But because this plot leak has been reported so many times, I think it's kind of confirmed now what the Ahsoka show is going to be about, and I'm pretty excited for it. I want to see more Thrawn, I want to see more Ezra, and we get to see Ahsoka and Sabine going after them. How much better can an Ahsoka show really get? I think it's going to be great. The article goes on to say, in the Rebels epilogue, Ahsoka tells Sabine that they need to find Ezra. Ezra had disappeared years earlier with Thrawn and his fleet in the climax of Rebels. In The Mandalorian, Ahsoka is on the hunt for news of Grand Admiral Thrawn, which one assumes is so she can thus find Ezra. The only thing we don't really know is which came first. The current best guess is that Ahsoka in The Mandalorian happened before the Rebels epilogue. However, there is no guarantee on that. Ergo, if someone asked me what I think Ahsoka would be about, I'd probably say this. Ahsoka Tano is on the hunt for Grand Admiral Thrawn in the hope it would help her locate Ezra Bridger, the young Jedi that disappeared with Thrawn many years ago. So that's exactly what Daniel Rickman said. What the article is trying to say is that that's what pretty much everyone thinks that Ahsoka is going to be about. So it's a very easy report for an insider matter to make for a scooper to make, because it kind of feels like an easy win for that scooper, because pretty much everyone thinks that's what the show's going to be about, and if the scooper gets it right, which he probably will, he can put that on his resume for being right about something. So they're saying that the report that the rumor might not be accurate for that reason, but I think it's pretty much confirmed that that's what the show's going to be about. But you can decide for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments what the Ahsoka show will be about. Let's move on to some exciting news about the book of Boba Fett. This is the first time that I've really been that excited for the book of Boba Fett ever since the announcement. I'm not the biggest Boba Fett fan. I don't dislike the character, but I'm not the hugest fan of him, and I didn't really think the idea of him running the underworld, of him running Jabba's palace, was that intriguing to me. But now the show gets really interesting. Culture Crave tweeted out that Din Djarin will appear in the book of Boba Fett via Cinelinx. Now this has me interested in this show, because while I would have watched the show for sure, and I'm sure I would have enjoyed the book of Boba Fett without Din Djarin, or without the connection to the rest of the Filoniverse, I'm sure the show would have been great. But what I was really worried about for this show was the lack of connection that it was going to have to the rest of the shows, to the rest of the Filoniverse. I thought this was going to be more of a standalone show, kind of like a passion project for Jon Favreau. It just seemed like something that he really wanted to do, whether or not it made sense for the story, and that's what I was kind of worried about. I thought it was something that just intrigued Jon Favreau and he just wanted to do it for a selfish reason. But if they're bringing Din Djarin into it, that means it's going to connect to the entire Filoniverse, to the bigger picture of things, and that means it's going to have big implications for the Filoniverse going forward. Therefore, it gets me pretty excited for the show. I don't really know how this is going to work timeline wise. This either has to happen right after the Mandalorian finale of season 2, and in that case is taking over Mandalore again just kind of delayed until after the book of Boba Fett? And do we find out who sits on the Mandalorian throne, who holds the Darksaber in the book of Boba Fett? Din Djarin appearing in the book of Boba Fett really makes things so much more interesting for all of those reasons. Now I would kind of rather see the Mandalorian season 3 first, so that we can really dive into them retaking Mandalore, who gets the Darksaber, all of that stuff before the book of Boba Fett. But I'm not complaining. This makes the book of Boba Fett way more interesting, and I don't know if we'll ever see a Mandalorian season 3. So maybe the book of Boba Fett truly is replacing Mandalorian now, and they'll just tell that story in later seasons of the book of Boba Fett, or maybe they'll add a couple episodes on to the end of the season to show who gets the Darksaber and all of that stuff. Who knows what they're going to do? All I know is that bringing Din Djarin into the show makes the show so much more interesting to me. But let me know what you guys think about Din Djarin being in the book of Boba Fett, and let me know what you think about all the plot leaks that we talked about for the Ahsoka series. Are you excited for the Ahsoka series? Are you excited for the book of Boba Fett? Let me know all that stuff in the comments. If you hate Kathleen Kennedy being the president of Lucasfilm as much as I do, check out my Ruined by Kathleen Kennedy merch linked in the description. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter or join the Discord, both of those links will be in the description as well. Thank you for watching the video, and hope to see you on the next one.